The alien queen believed she married a modest man until she saw him in. Every alien citizen looked up to the palace with pride and respect. Inside, the queen ruled with strength and wisdom. She was known as brave, powerful, and proud. Her empire had never been weak, and she never liked weakness around her. So when she chose a husband from Earth, many aliens were confused. Humans were still new to the great galactic community. They were brave, yes. They were creative, yes. But they were not seen as strong as older star empires. Many alien rulers thought humans were still learning. They did not understand why their mighty queen chose a human man who looked simple and modest. His name was Ethan. He was calm, polite, and quiet. He smiled often. He bowed with respect. He spoke gently. He did not look dangerous. He did not look powerful. He looked ordinary. Many alien nobles whispered when they saw him, "Is this really the queen's husband? He looks so simple. He is only a human. What can he do? He is probably only here to stand beside her." The royal court laughed softly behind his back. Guards did not fear him. Advisors did not respect him. Some even ignored him like he was decoration in the palace. They saw a kind man and assumed kindness meant weakness. Queen Larava did not laugh, but she also believed she understood him fully. She believed he was only a peaceful diplomat with a gentle heart. She married him for his wisdom, for his calm mind, and because he made her feel peaceful after many years of war and leadership stress. She thought she knew everything important about him, but she did not. Ethan lived in the palace, but he lived like a normal person. He woke early, drank tea, and walked through the palace gardens. He talked kindly with workers and guards. He remembered their names, asked about their families, and listened when they spoke. Many people grew to like him, even if they did not respect him as powerful. One day, Ethan walked through the market section inside the palace city. The citizens there did not treat him like a king. They treated him like a friend. He helped an old alien woman carry bags. He lifted a crying child when they fell. He laughed with young students and answered questions about Earth. Humans, he explained, came from a blue planet full of water and clouds. He told them stories of Earth, of mountains and forests, of cities full of lights, of people who loved music and dreams. The children listened with shining eyes. But in the royal council chamber, things were different. Alien generals discussed war strategy. Advisors spoke in strict voices. When Ethan entered, most of them went quiet, not because they respected him, but because they thought he had nothing important to say. One general whispered loudly. Another smirked. She saw his kindness. She admired it. Still, she believed he was only gentle. She believed he needed protection, not that he could protect others. Yet small, strange things surrounded Ethan. Whenever danger alarms sounded for training drills, palace guards always moved slightly closer to him without thinking, as if they knew he mattered. Some old alien commanders, veterans of ancient wars, looked at Ethan with deep and curious eyes. Sometimes they even stood straighter when he walked by. It was strange. It was subtle, but it was real. There were rumors Ethan once had another title before becoming a diplomat. Some whispers called him the Silent Storm. Others called him the Guardian of Earth. But no official record in the galaxy spoke about it. Anytime someone tried to search his past, the records ended in hidden files or classified history. Queen Larava noticed that. She wondered sometimes, who exactly had she married? One peaceful evening, she joined Ethan in the balcony garden. The stars shined above them in thousands of bright colors. The queen wore royal armor shaped with shining crystal metal. Ethan wore a simple soft coat and held warm tea. "You look thoughtful," Ethan said with a soft smile. She looked at him carefully. "You are always calm," she replied. "Even when the council doubts you, even when they do not respect you." "Why?" He looked out at the stars. "Because I do not need them to fear me," he answered gently. "I only need to do what is right when the time comes." Her brows lifted slightly. She did not fully understand what he meant, but his voice carried deep strength. Before she could ask more, sirens echoed across the palace. Bright red light flashed in the sky. Warships of the Empire rose like sharp silver arrows. Communication towers buzzed. Soldiers rushed through halls. Panic and tension spread through the palace. Queen Larava stood quickly. "A threat," she demanded, a guard shouted. Leadership awakened inside her like fire. Ethan stood as well, calm but serious. "Go," he said softly. "Your people need you." She nodded and rushed toward the command center. Generals followed her. Advisors ran. Lights flashed. The whole empire started to prepare. But Ethan did not panic. He did not shout. He simply walked in another direction toward a quiet room deep inside the palace. The guards at that door looked nervous when they saw him. "Sir, this area is restricted," one guard said carefully. Ethan smiled kindly. "I know. But please open it." The guards hesitated. Then, with respect in their eyes that felt strange for simple guards to show, they obeyed. Inside that room rested a sealed container. It was old, very old, older than the Queen's empire, older than most known civilizations. On it rested carved marks, human marks. Ethan placed his hand on it. A voice from the container spoke. The council did not know. The modest man was not weak. He was simply quiet. He was simply patient. He was simply waiting for the moment when the universe would need him. And that moment was arriving. Meanwhile, Queen Larava reached the great command hall. Maps of space floated in the air. Enemy ships appeared like dark shadows moving closer to the Empire's territory. Her generals shouted plans. Officers yelled orders. Fighters prepared to launch. The situation was serious. Yet through all the noise and fear, one thought touched Larava's mind. Where was Ethan? She expected to worry about him. She expected to need to hide him somewhere safe. But for some reason, she did not feel he was in danger. She did not know why. And soon, at the borders of Queen Larava's empire, an unknown fleet appeared from the dark side of space. Their ships were giant, silent, and powerful. They did not answer any peaceful message. They did not share who they were. They only moved closer, slowly and confidently, like hunters who already believed they would win. In the Grand Command Hall, everything was alive with tension. Screens glowed. Maps shifted. Officers spoke quickly. Generals stood straight with serious faces. The Queen's empire had fought many battles before, but this felt different. This enemy was not aggressive in loud ways. They were calm. That calmness was terrifying. Queen Larava stood at the center like a shining pillar of strength. Her armor reflected bright lights. Her eyes were firm. She looked brave in front of everyone, but deep inside, a small, quiet worry grew. She had to protect her people. She had to protect the galaxy peace she promised. And somewhere inside her heart, she also thought of Ethan, her modest, human husband. She expected him to be in a safe place, maybe worried, maybe confused. She believed he was gentle and peaceful and that he would stay away from danger. But Ethan was not hiding. He was preparing. Far away in the quiet, hidden room below the palace, Ethan stood in front of the opened container. Soft blue light wrapped around him like living mist. Inside the container rested a suit, not just armor, not just technology, but something more than that. It was ancient human design mixed with powerful unknown engineering. The suit looked calm and elegant, not cruel or frightening. Its surface was smooth, with glowing lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. It seemed alive, as if it remembered something, as if it remembered wars, stars, and promises. Ethan placed his hand on it again. The calm voice from the system spoke gently. He remembered Earth. He remembered his past. Once before peace treaties and alliances, humanity had faced great danger. Not just one danger, many. Dark times came where survival needed more than armies. It needed someone who could lead, protect, and carry heavy responsibility without losing kindness. Ethan had been one of those chosen few, not because he wanted power, not because he wanted glory, but because he could not watch people suffer and stay still. So he trained. He learned, he fought for peace, not for pride. He became something quiet but strong, something the galaxy whispered about but never fully understood. Now the galaxy needed him again. He opened his eyes. "Yes," Ethan answered softly. "Activate." The suit lifted silently and wrapped around him like liquid light. It shaped itself to his body, fitting perfectly. Blue light became brighter then steadier. When the light faded, Ethan no longer looked like a modest man. He looked like a guardian, not scary, not cruel. Simply powerful in a calm, confident way. He took a slow breath. The suit responded to every movement, every thought. It showed him data, enemy fleet power, ship models, energy levels, and possible strategies. The system inside the armor was not loud. It was like a trusted friend speaking gently. He turned and walked toward the exit. Meanwhile, in the command hall, Queen Larava stared at the floating hologram map. The unknown fleet finally sent a signal, but it was not a greeting. It was a warning. A dark hologram figure appeared, not angry, not emotional, just cold. "This galaxy has become weak," the enemy voice said calmly. "Your empires have grown comfortable. Your defenses have grown soft. We are here to test your strength." If you fail, you will surrender your resources and worlds. Resist, and we will destroy. Then the message ended. The hall went silent. No one laughed. No one doubted the threat. A general spoke with a worried tone. Their technology level is very high, my queen. Even our strongest fleets might struggle. Another added, they are confident, too confident. That means they believe they have already measured us. The queen's jaw tightened. She refused to let fear control her. Prepare defense lines, call allied fleets. Evacuate border civilians, and keep scanning, she ordered. Her people moved faster, yet something still bothered her. The enemy spoke as if they had studied the galaxy, as if they expected all leadership responses, as if they already planned for everything. But there was one thing they did not plan for. They did not plan for Ethan. The palace doors opened. Steps echoed slowly. Everyone turned. The room fell silent. Ethan walked in, but he did not walk in like a simple man this time. He walked like someone carrying quiet strength. His suit shined softly, humming with power. His expression was calm, focused, and confident. For a moment no one spoke, then whispers spread like wind. Is that him? He is human? What kind of armor is that? Why do I feel calm when I look at him? The queen stared, her eyes wide. For the first time she saw something she never imagined. This was not the gentle husband she only saw drinking tea and smiling softly. This was someone different, yet somehow still him. He smiled at her gently, the same warm smile she knew. Sorry I am late, he said softly. Her heart felt something strange, shock, surprise, respect, and something deeper she could not name. What is this? She asked quietly. He walked closer. This is my truth, Ethan answered. Before I became a diplomat, I was something else, not a ruler, not a conqueror, a protector. The generals looked stunned. A high-ranking commander bowed slightly without thinking. Guardian, he whispered, like recognizing a legend. Some older officers suddenly remembered stories. Stories of a human protector from the past. Stories of a quiet warrior who ended wars not by destroying everything, but by guiding, inspiring, and using strength only when needed. Queen Larava felt her breath slow. Why did you never tell me? She asked, but her voice was not angry. It was gentle, curious, and full of emotion. He looked into her eyes with honesty. Because I wanted to live peacefully, he said. I wanted to be your husband, not a symbol, not a weapon. I wanted to live as a simple man, but when danger comes, I cannot stay simple. There was no pride in his voice. There was no ego, only quiet truth. The queen saw something beautiful in that truth. The council, however, still doubted. One loud advisor stood up. Even if you are strong, you are only one human. This is a galactic threat. Ethan turned his head slightly. His eyes were still kind, but behind that kindness rested deep courage. I know, he replied gently. And sometimes one person with the right heart can change everything. Silence. Then alarms rang again. The enemy fleet moved closer. Time was running. Ethan turned toward the war map. His suit connected with the hologram instantly. Lines of new data appeared, secret paths, new strategies, weak points in the enemy formation. Even the best military minds in the Empire had not seen these possibilities. The room gasped. How do you know? A general whispered. Because this is not the first time I have seen enemies like them, Ethan answered calmly. They test worlds, they push fear first. If fear wins, they take everything. If courage stands, they retreat. The queen watched him lead calmly, not like a king, not like a dictator, but like a steady light in darkness. He did not shout orders. He discussed plans. He explained clearly. He listened to generals and adjusted strategies with respect. Slowly, the room that was full of fear began to fill with hope again. People who once doubted him now looked at him with respect. Queen Larava felt pride in her heart, not pride in his power, pride in who he was. When the planning finished, Ethan turned back to her. I will go to the front line, he said softly. Her heart tightened. It is dangerous. I know, he replied, smiling gently. But I do not go to fight for victory alone. I go to protect those who cannot fight. That is always my reason. She looked at him deeply. In that moment, she understood something important. Strength was not loud. Strength was not about showing off. Real strength was quiet, kind, patient, and only roared when needed. She stepped forward and placed her hand on his armored chest. The armor felt warm, like living light. Come back, she whispered. I will, he promised. He turned and walked out toward the warships. As he left, the entire hall felt like it breathed differently. Hope returned. Fear faded. Leaders who once doubted humans now saw humanity in a new light. Queen Larava watched him go, her heart filled with respect and something even stronger than before. She finally understood why fate brought this modest human into her life. He was not just her husband. He was a guardian not only for Earth, not only for her, but for the galaxy. And soon the enemy would learn the same truth. The alien queen once believed she married a simple, gentle man. Now she realized she married someone far greater than she ever imagined. And the story of humanity was only beginning to shine. The sky above the Queen's empire glowed with the lights of thousands of warships. The unknown enemy fleet moved silently like dark shadows, their ships forming perfect lines across the stars. Citizens across the empire watched from below, their hearts heavy with worry. Schools paused, markets closed. Even the oceans glowed with warning lights, reflecting the tension above. Inside the main command hall, Queen Larava stood at the center. Her crystal armor reflected the warship lights, shimmering with her royal authority. Around her, generals and commanders spoke rapidly, their voices overlapping in urgency. "We cannot wait, they are closing fast," one shouted. "Evacuate civilians," another warned. "Defensive energy shields are at only 50%, a third cried. Despite the chaos, one figure moved calmly through the hall. Ethan walked in his glowing suit of ancient human armor. The soft hum of the suit filled the room like a heartbeat, quiet but steady. Every movement he made seemed deliberate and graceful, yet powerful. Officers and soldiers froze as whispers spread across the room. "That is the human. The guardian. How is one man like that here?" Queen Larava's eyes widened as she took in his presence. She had seen him before in quiet moments, sipping tea or speaking kindly with palace staff. But this was entirely different. He was no longer the modest, gentle man she had thought she knew. The suit wrapped around him like living light, glowing softly with blue energy. It did not make him frightening. It made him look calm, confident, unstoppable. "Ethan," she whispered, unable to hide the awe in her voice. You are ready." He nodded, his eyes scanning the star maps floating above the hall. "I've been ready," he said softly, almost humbly. "I only waited for the right time, and now the time has come." The generals exchanged shocked glances. Many of them had served decades in the galaxy's wars, yet none of them could deny the sense of strength radiating from this single human. One grizzled commander leaned over to another and whispered, "I thought the legends were stories, but that man, he is real." Ethan approached the holographic map of space. The unknown fleet had spread across thousands of kilometers, moving in precise, almost unnatural patterns. Most generals debated endlessly, trying to find the perfect strategy, but Ethan's calm voice interrupted them. "You are overcomplicating," he said simply. "They are testing our patience. They want us to make mistakes out of fear. But if we stay steady, we can turn their confidence into weakness." "Stay steady?" one general scoffed. "With thousands of enemy ships, with civilian populations at risk?" Ethan looked at him with gentle eyes. "Strength is not always in numbers. Strength is in knowing your enemy, in choosing when to fight and when to protect. Let me show you." Without another word, Ethan extended his hand. The suit's light connected to the holographic map, and new lines of strategy appeared instantly. Paths of attack, hidden weak points, potential energy fluctuations, everything the enemy had not considered. Even the most experienced generals were silent, staring at the map in disbelief. Every move Ethan suggested was calm, precise, and calculated, yet they were bold enough to strike fear into the enemy if executed correctly. Queen Larava felt her chest tighten. She had always been strong, always been a ruler who inspired armies. Yet here, standing beside her, modest, husband, she realized she had never truly understood power like this. She had married a man who could stand quietly in the center of chaos and command respect without raising his voice. "Do you trust me?" Ethan asked quietly, looking directly at her. She nodded, her hand brushing the edge of her armor. "I do," she whispered, "more than I have trusted anyone." The moment was brief. Alarms rang again. The enemy fleet had moved closer, firing scanning pulses that lit the starfield like lightning. The Queen turned to the generals. "All fleets prepare to engage only on my order. Civilian ships follow evacuation protocols. Ethan, you lead the strike teams." He nodded. His suit adjusted instantly, displaying new tactical data, energy levels, and predicted enemy responses. He stepped forward, his posture calm, yet every step radiated authority. Soldiers who had doubted him before now fell in line without hesitation, inspired not by fear but by quiet confidence. Ethan's presence shifted the atmosphere. Where panic had filled the command hall, a new sense of hope appeared. Officers who had complained about the enemy now watched him carefully, realizing they were part of something bigger than themselves. A single human, standing quietly, had reminded them that courage could exist in even the most modest form. Minutes later, the first encounter began. Enemy ships moved in sharp lines, cutting through the void with precision. Defensive fleets of the Queen's Empire responded, firing energy shields and weapons in synchronized patterns. Explosions lit the dark space, painting the battlefield with flashes of orange and blue. Yet amid the chaos, Ethan moved calmly through the communication channels, directing fleets, redirecting attacks, and predicting enemy maneuvers faster than anyone else could. A young officer whispered to another, "How does he do this? He's everywhere at once." The other shook his head. "It's not just skill, it's something more. I've never seen anyone like him." Queen Larava watched every move. Her heart pounded not from fear, but from awe. She had thought she married a simple man. Now she understood. Ethan had been waiting for this moment his entire life. Every calm smile, every gentle word, every act of kindness, it was preparation. Preparation for a day when the galaxy would need a guardian who could balance power with wisdom, courage with compassion. As the battle continued, Ethan's armor revealed even more. Shields unfolded around him like living barriers, absorbing energy pulses from enemy fire. Holographic projections appeared from the suit, predicting enemy moves before they happened. When he moved, it was as if the suit itself flowed with him, a second layer of intelligence enhancing his every thought. The enemy fleet faltered. Their confidence shook. They had expected fear, confusion, and chaos. They had not expected a single human to move calmly, predictively, and flawlessly among the lines of attack. One commander, speaking through an encrypted channel, muttered in shock, "This human, he is not just a soldier. He is a weapon, a mind we cannot predict." In the center of it all, Queen Larava felt something new. She did not feel powerless. She did not feel worry. Instead, she felt pride. Not pride in a human who wore armor. Pride in the quiet strength of a being who had dedicated himself to protection, courage, and wisdom. Ethan was extraordinary not because he sought power, but because he had chosen to wait patiently, to grow, and to act only when the moment demanded. Hours passed. The enemy retreated, confused and unsettled. Civilians were safe. The Queen's fleets returned to formation. The battlefield was silent, yet the hum of Ethan's armor reminded everyone of the quiet power that had protected them. Queen Larava approached him once the commotion ended. His suit retracted partially, revealing the calm human face she knew, but now marked with focus and determination. She placed her hand gently on his arm. You saved us," she said softly. He smiled, gently, without pride. "I only did what had to be done. Everyone played their part, I just guided it." The generals and officers still stared, still whispering about the human who had turned the battle. Many realized that legends were not just stories. They were reminders of what could be achieved when courage and wisdom worked together. They looked at Queen Larava differently now, seeing not just a ruler, but a wise leader who had chosen her partner carefully. The Queen's heart felt light and heavy at the same time. She had always believed in humanity. She had always admired courage. But seeing it in her husband, seeing the armor, the calm strength, and the unwavering focus, made her realize she had underestimated him and underestimated humans. They were not just ordinary beings from a small blue planet. Even a single human could shine across galaxies if given purpose and heart. That night, after the fleets returned and the city lights dimmed, Queen Larava walked to the balcony of the palace. Stars shone above, twinkling like distant diamonds. She thought of Ethan standing among her people, a single human who had reminded an entire empire what courage truly meant. She realized something important. Strength was not always loud. True power could be quiet, patient, and kind, and it could change everything. When Ethan joined her, still wearing part of the suit, she looked at him and smiled. "I believed I married a modest man," she said softly, "but now I understand." He looked at her, his soft smile reflecting his calm confidence. "Modest is only a word," he said gently. "The heart and mind can be much greater than any title. I only act when the time is right." The Queen nodded, understanding fully for the first time. Humanity, she realized, was more than stories. It was courage, kindness, and patience. And now she had seen it in the person she loved the most. And the galaxy would soon see it too. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. News of the human, Ethan, the Queen's husband, had spread quickly through the Empire and beyond. Alien fleets whispered his name like it was a legend brought to life. Officers who once doubted humans now studied his strategies, copying his calm, deliberate approach. Children told stories of the quiet hero whose simple heart could move mountains. And yet Ethan himself remained modest, focusing on what mattered most, protecting life, preserving peace, and guiding those who relied on him. Queen Larava watched him every day. Even after the battle at the border, she could not stop looking at the man she had thought she knew. He was still gentle, still kind, yet there was a fire in his eyes, a steady fire that demanded respect without needing to shout or strike fear. She had once believed she married a simple diplomat. Now she realized she had married someone far greater, a guardian whose legacy was only beginning. Ethan's calm authority was tested once again. The unknown fleet had not disappeared. Instead, it moved into a different sector, threatening a smaller human colony that had recently joined the galactic community. Civilians there were unprepared, defenseless, and frightened. Most commanders wanted to wait for backup, but Ethan shook his head. "We cannot wait," he said simply. "The people cannot wait for politics. Every life matters. We act now." The Queen watched him as he coordinated the response. He did not give loud orders. He did not raise his voice. He spoke gently to each fleet commander, listening to their concerns, adjusting strategies, and reminding them of one thing. The enemy underestimated them because they assumed humans were weak. That assumption was their greatest mistake. By the time the fleets arrived, Ethan had created a plan that was both bold and careful. He positioned smaller ships to protect civilians, while heavier fleets drew the enemy into controlled areas of space. He used the terrain of the stars, asteroid fields, energy storms, and gravitational anomalies to make the enemy overextend. Every move was precise, every action intentional. Queen Larava could hardly believe what she saw. The human she had thought quiet and modest was orchestrating an entire operation with intelligence and foresight that rivaled the galaxy's greatest minds. Even the veterans in her fleet acknowledged it. "He sees patterns we cannot," one admiral admitted. "He understands strategy on a level beyond comprehension." The battle began, and it was not loud or chaotic like traditional wars. Instead, it was smooth, elegant, and efficient. Ships moved like chess pieces, attacking when necessary, protecting when necessary. Civilians were safe. Enemy ships fell back one by one, confused and frustrated by the calm precision they faced. Some alien generals began to whisper among themselves. "We underestimated humans," one said quietly. "They are not just strong, they are remarkable." Ethan moved among his fleets like a quiet force. Holographic projections from his armor relayed the positions of enemy ships, their weak points, and the safest paths for civilians. At one point, he noticed an enemy squadron trying to sneak around an energy field to attack a civilian transport. Without hesitation, he redirected a small strike team, guiding them to intercept without firing a single shot unnecessarily. The squadron surrendered rather than fight, recognizing the human's calm authority. After the battle, the colony was safe. Civilians cheered from the skies, waving flags and sending messages of gratitude. Leaders of the new colony came to Ethan personally. "Your people are extraordinary," one said. "We feared for our lives, you saved us. How can we ever thank you?" Ethan smiled, his eyes gentle. "I did nothing alone. Your courage and patience saved you too. Together we preserve life. That is all the thanks I need." Word of the victory spread quickly. Other civilizations who had previously doubted humans began to pay attention. Reports came in from across the galaxy. Humans were not just ordinary beings from a small planet. Even those who seemed quiet, modest, or unassuming could rise in courage, wisdom, and leadership when the universe demanded it. They became symbols of hope, patience, and clever strategy. Queen Larava observed it all and felt her pride swell. She had once admired humans for their creativity and adaptability, but now she understood something deeper. Humanity had something the galaxy needed, a combination of heart, mind, and moral courage. Even modest individuals could shape the course of history, change wars, and inspire entire civilizations. But it was not just about strategy or intelligence. Ethan's humanity showed through in small ways that others noticed. After the battle, he personally attended to injured alien soldiers, regardless of species. He comforted frightened children, helped repair civilian ships, and stayed with those who were struggling to recover from the attack. His compassion became legendary not because he wanted praise, but because it was natural to him. One young officer who had previously doubted him came forward. I don't understand, he admitted. He is human, just one man, how can he do so much? An older officer replied, his voice quiet but certain. Because he does not act alone. He inspires courage, he listens, he calculates, he cares. One person can never do everything, but one person can make everyone around them stronger. That is what makes him extraordinary. Queen Larava thought about that carefully. She realized it was true. Ethan's strength did not come from weapons, technology, or authority alone. It came from his heart, his patience, and his ability to see the potential in everyone around him. Humanity, she thought, had a legacy not just in battles, but in hope, resilience, and quiet courage that could shine even in the darkest moments. The next days were full of planning. The enemy fleet was still out there, moving unpredictably. Ethan worked tirelessly, coordinating with all allied fleets and colonies, sharing strategies and training others in his methods. Yet he never showed fatigue. His calm, gentle demeanor reassured everyone. Even the Queen, who had faced countless crises in her life, felt safe with him by her side. One evening, as the fleets rested and the stars glimmered above, Ethan returned to the palace. Queen Larava was waiting on the balcony. She watched him approach, his posture relaxed yet commanding even in peace. The soft glow of his armor reflected the stars, and for a moment she remembered when she had believed he was a simple, modest man. "You have done more than I ever imagined," she said softly. Ethan shook his head. "I have done nothing alone. Every life saved, every fleet guided. It is because everyone around me is willing to act with courage. Humanity, your empire, and even the allies we have, together we make a difference." She smiled, a mixture of pride and admiration shining in her eyes. "And yet, you are still modest. You never boast. You never show pride." He looked at her gently. "Because modesty allows me to see clearly. Pride clouds judgment. Strength without humility can become weakness. I only act when the time is right, and I act for others, not for myself." The Queen nodded, understanding fully. In that moment, she realized that the legacy of humanity was more than courage in battle. It was patience, compassion, and quiet wisdom. It was the ability to rise when needed, to protect life, and to inspire others to become better versions of themselves. And she had married a living example of that legacy. The following days passed with more victories. Enemy fleets, confused and frustrated by Ethan's strategy, began retreating from colonies. Each victory brought more admiration for humans across the galaxy. Scientists studied his armor, historians wrote about his tactics, and children everywhere told stories of the quiet human guardian who saved entire worlds without seeking glory. Through it all, Ethan remained humble. He returned to the Queen each evening, sharing quiet conversations and gentle smiles. They walked through the palace gardens, discussing strategy, history, and even small personal stories from Earth. Queen Larava found herself learning about patience, humility, and courage in ways she had never known. She realized that even a single human could teach lessons that spanned galaxies. One night, as the twin moons rose above the palace oceans, she looked at Ethan and said softly, "I always thought I married a modest man, but now I see what humanity can truly be, and I see you." He smiled, the calm warmth in his eyes reflecting the stars above. "Modest is only a word. Courage, wisdom, and heart define us. I only act when the galaxy calls for it." The Queen reached for his hand. "Then together we will show the galaxy the best of humanity." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "And together we will protect every life we can." That night, as the stars shone above, Queen Larava felt something deep inside. She felt hope, pride, and a quiet certainty that humanity, even in modest form, could inspire entire civilizations. And with Ethan by her side, the galaxy would never forget the quiet strength of a human guardian. The story of humanity's legacy had only just begun. And soon, the universe would learn that even one humble human could change the course of countless worlds. The galaxy was changing. After months of careful planning, daring rescues, and brilliant strategy, the unknown enemy fleet had finally been pushed back to the outermost regions of space. Entire civilizations had witnessed the quiet power of a human guardian. Every colony, every fleet, and every citizen had begun to understand that the people of Earth were not just a small planet's inhabitants. They were a force to be respected, admired, and trusted. Queen Larava stood on the palace balcony, looking across the sparkling city below. Her crystal palace reflected the lights of the stars above, and the soft hum of distant engines from returning fleets filled the air. Civilians cheered from the streets, waving flags of gratitude and respect. Children pointed at the sky, dreaming of humans and heroes. Even alien leaders from far-off empires were sending messages of congratulations, some requesting alliances that had never been possible before. Ethan walked beside her, calm as ever, his suit retracted now, leaving only a faint glow in the folds of his clothes. To the Queen, he looked both ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. Ordinary because he smiled softly, walked gently, and spoke kindly. Extraordinary because the galaxy had witnessed his courage, his wisdom, and his quiet power. "You've changed everything," Larava said, her voice soft but full of awe. "Humans and you, they see it now." Ethan shook his head, brushing a small lock of hair from his forehead. "I did nothing alone. Every victory, every safe life, it belongs to all who acted with courage. Humanity is not a single person. It is all who choose to act for good." She looked at him carefully. "And yet it took one human to show the universe what that courage looks like." Her voice held warmth, pride, and something more, a deep respect that went beyond words. Ethan smiled gently. "Perhaps, but one human can inspire others, and that inspiration spreads faster than fleets or weapons ever could." The palace doors opened, and a messenger arrived, carrying urgent messages from the outer sectors. Several newly allied civilizations were requesting formal treaties. Leaders praised humans, their courage, and the wisdom they had witnessed. Each message ended with a similar theme: respect, admiration, and a recognition that humans were no longer underestimated. The Queen read one aloud, her eyes shining. "From the Galactic Council of Endara, we recognize humanity's courage and the guidance of Guardian Ethan. Their actions have protected countless lives and preserved peace. We extend our gratitude and our alliance." Ethan nodded calmly. "It is only the beginning," he said softly. "We have inspired respect, but we must continue to protect and guide wisely. One battle does not guarantee peace forever." Larava looked at him, smiling. "You've done more than anyone could imagine. You've shown the galaxy the value of courage, patience, and wisdom, and you've taught me too." He reached for her hand. "You already knew," he said gently. "You married a human not just for kindness, but because you understood potential. You believed in me." That made all the difference. Their hands met, a quiet connection in the midst of celebrations and the hum of returning fleets. Around them, the palace city continued to glow, reflecting both the stars and the hope that had begun to spread across the galaxy. Outside, ambassadors and leaders arrived for the first time in history. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked among humans, shaking hands, sharing gifts, and exchanging stories of courage. Children laughed together, curiosity replacing fear. Soldiers who had once doubted humans now spoke with pride about the quiet guardian who had saved countless lives. Even the grizzled veterans of galactic wars had to admit, one human could change the course of entire worlds. Ethan remained modest, answering questions, giving advice, and guiding fleets. He did not boast or demand recognition. Instead, he focused on teaching others what he had learned: calmness in the face of fear, patience in planning, and courage that came not from strength alone, but from heart and mind combined. Queen Larava watched him as he moved among the people. She remembered the first time she had thought of him as simple, gentle, and modest, and now she realized how little she had truly understood. "You have taught the galaxy," she whispered to him when they were alone again, "and you have taught me as well." Ethan looked at her, his eyes soft with quiet warmth. "We teach each other," he said. "No one acts alone. True strength comes when we lift others, when we guide, and when we protect. Humanity will always grow when it acts with heart." That night, the palace celebrated. Festivals lit the city with glowing lights. Music played softly, echoing across the oceans. People sang songs of gratitude for life, for courage, and for hope. Children dressed as guardians, pretending to guide fleets and protect worlds. The Queen walked among them, her hand in Ethan's, feeling the pulse of a galaxy that had begun to respect not just humans, but the values they represented: bravery, wisdom, and kindness. The next day, new missions were planned. Colonies that had been threatened were being rebuilt. Trade routes reopened. Alliances strengthened. And through it all, Ethan continued quietly, humbly, with the same calm confidence he had shown since the first battle. Every act, every decision, every careful plan was a reflection of humanity's potential. Word of his actions reached even distant corners of the universe. Alien civilizations that had never interacted with humans now sought guidance, respect, and cooperation. The message was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were not weak, small, or ordinary. Even one human, guided by wisdom, courage, and patience, could inspire hope across countless worlds. Queen Larava looked out at the horizon, where ships returned from the frontier, carrying survivors and supplies. She thought about the first time she had married Ethan, the quiet man she thought she knew. And now she saw clearly she had not married a modest man. She had married someone extraordinary, someone who represented the very best of humanity, someone whose quiet courage would leave a lasting legacy across the galaxy. Ethan joined her at the balcony again, looking at the lights of the city below. "Do you think they understand now?" she asked softly. He shook his head gently. "Some understand, some will take longer, but they will learn, and every life we save, every lesson we teach spreads that understanding. Humanity's legacy is not built in a single battle. It is built in hope, courage, and compassion that never stops." The Queen smiled, feeling both pride and deep respect. "Then together we will continue. Together we will guide the galaxy to see the value of courage, heart, and wisdom." He took her hand, his grip firm but gentle. "Together," he said. That night, as stars shimmered across the galaxy, the people of countless worlds slept safely, inspired by the quiet heroism of a human guardian. Queen Larava looked at Ethan and whispered, "I believed I married a modest man, but now I know." "The galaxy is stronger because of you," Ethan smiled softly. "I am only one human, but even one human, when guided by heart and courage, can make a difference, and with you we can do even more." The stars shone brightly above, reflecting a galaxy that had begun to understand humanity in a new light. One human had changed everything, not through force, not through pride, but through quiet strength, unwavering courage, and kindness that inspired all who saw it. The universe had learned a new truth. Even modest beginnings could hold the power to change worlds. And the story of humanity's legacy, guided by a quiet guardian, would never be forgotten.